Hey there guys, Nick here. Decided that I am going to just start doing a little bit of YouTube again. For those that don't know, I do a little bit of IT work, mostly cybersecurity, but I also do programming and game development. So one of the things that I decided that I want to do is really just kind of get back into doing a little bit of video games, a little bit of analysis of video game systems, and just a little bit of analyzing things as we go, and also just having fun with it. Really, I don't really care to make money off of any of this. I really just kind of want to, have something to do, analyze some cool games, have a little bit of fun while doing it, and hopefully make some content that's a little bit of informative for other people, but more importantly than that, just something I want to be doing, something that I enjoy doing as kind of a hobby. So that's kind of what I'm going to do for here. So one of the first things that I am going to do is probably adjust the audio because it is very loud. But from a game dev perspective, that is a slick transition right there. The fact that you can actually, the snappiness of these buttons is honestly quite impressive. I'm actually going to adjust my microphone audio as well, make sure I don't peak it, but trying to figure things out as we go. But the snap that's very satisfying. That's very good for game feel right there. And also the transition to your settings menu is slick. Very, very slick. It is kind of funny that when you hit settings menu here, the settings button, everything kind of pulls down the first time, like you see it come down from the very, very top with everything like that. But one thing, I'm actually going to capture my mouse cursor now too, so everybody can see that. But whenever you actually hit the settings button, everything comes down in one panel, one big panel with everything already pre-populated, which is very, very cool. But from the moment that the same with these, at the moment you hit the back button, if you watch closely, everything will disappear. So what's probably happening is like all the elements are being turned off ahead of time, and then it's being transitioned out. So like watch, all this will go completely back before it actually transitions up, which is kind of, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just an interesting thing to note. If you're ever doing game design, that's a very valid way to do it. So very, very cool. The settings menu is also really, really awesome. I'm going to reduce maybe 60% or so, give or take. Maybe take down that to 60%. This is also a very intuitive menu here. Very good amount of graphics options too, which is actually a very hard thing to do in game design, is to get like a really good settings menu. It's just, there's a lot to think about and there's a lot to do. Good amount of it's funny, it's a useless scroll bar, so they probably just have like a scroll rect universally across this, but never really thought to adjust it, which is fine. It doesn't hurt anything, it doesn't hurt your game feel, but it's something that's just kind of funny to notice. Overall, this game feels great, just the snappiness. Probably the longest YouTube video I've ever seen focused on just UI design and menu design, but very, very cool. Alright, so there's join, host, public, exit. Yep, so let's just go ahead and do host because I'm probably going to be doing my own game. That is sweet. That's a sweet transition screen right there. Also, the CRT effect is very, very cool with the lines. That's very, very cool. I'm not entirely sure how they would have implemented that. I don't know if it would just be kind of like a different camera that's overlaid, or if it would just be effects. I guess it depends on what engines they use, but it's very, very cool. I know you could achieve it pretty quickly in Unity, but something like Godot or something might be a little bit harder. Yeah. Alright, so Wrangler seems pretty cool. He has a rocket lasso. That seems pretty good. Seems very mobile. Bruiser definitely seems more like a team play kind of thing, so I don't really think I'll be using him on this. Scrapper, that's kind of cool. So it like works off of your allies, which is also quite cool, but I'm going to be playing solo, so I don't really want any abilities that I can kind of do that with. Glider also seems really good.
There's a handy little terminal in the drop pod. Use it to select a mission and we can get rolling.
I love that voice. That voice acting is very, very good. Very, very good. So rocket salvo, it'll heal allies, and a wingsuit. Wrangler seems pretty cool. that amount, like there's just the snappiness of this UI. The legitimate snapping on the hover is amazing. It just makes it feel so good. Okay, so it looks like I can switch out weapons. Not really, but it does seem to be something I can do. That's also good that there's feedback on, hey, you're not allowed to do this. That little mer sound. That's good. That's also good game feel right there. This one's a little weird. No criteria for unlock. Makes it a little bit vague on how you would unlock that. One could assume you just eventually get it, but it is always good that if you're going to have something like that to kind of point out, hey, this is how you unlock it, like even just putting question marks over it or something like that makes it a little bit more clear than just it being vague. The mouse icon turning to a lock icon, also really sweet, very, very cool. I do love the tooltips that pop up too. If you're going to do something like that, you should always describe it to your people. To your players, what exactly the gun does or any stats like that. Like anything that you don't communicate to your player, no matter how cool the system is, no matter what's going on.
There's a handy little terminal in the drop pod.
Oh.
Use it to select a mission and we can get rolling.
That guy really wants me to get going. I don't think anybody spent this long just talking about this stuff, but like I said, this is mostly my enjoyment. So also kind of a analysis thing that I can look back on personally and just see what makes really good games. And so far, this game feel has been amazing. But transitioning back to what I was saying, you can have the coolest system in the world, but if you don't communicate that system to your player in some fashion, whether they experience it or you outright tell them, as with tooltips, doesn't matter. They won't understand. Like, you know, a regular gamer can probably just, you know, infer that fire ignites a target and deals damage to it over time because that's a, you know, pretty predefined game concept. But you know, if it did something else, it would be a lot more important to do that. But it's also just nice to, you know, just confirm in video games that, hey, and, you know, how you expect fire to act, it acts the same in this game, which is very, very cool. Battery-powered submachine gun, so there's a ricochet shotgun. Okay, so like that, like you might have to figure out that it ricochets just by playing the game, or it could be conveyed to you this way. This way, it's like cooler. Cooler's not the word. It's a little bit more, you know, clear. That tells you, hey, this gun ricochets, which is really neat. So you don't have to like play around with it to figure that out. It's just conveyed to you. Again, a cool system, coolest system ever. But if it wasn't conveyed to me, I wouldn't know that that shotgun does that immediately. Battery-powered submachine gun. I wonder if that comes into play, but yeah, we will see. Does look like I have a couple grenades. I'm gonna stick with fire because he seems like a fiery build. There is like some currency required to unlock, I believe, from the looks of it. It would be cool to outline that that is currency. Again, convey the things, but very cool. A little tutorial, space to dash in the air. Okay, so instead of double jump, you get a space. You get like a. Ooh, that audio's awesome.
Mission selection is over in the drop pod. Go start clicking some buttons
And there
pulling
is
some levers whenever you're ready.
spatial audio as well. I kind of am curious to see what they programmed him to do, just because, like, hey, just let's see what your little cockroach friend does. So that right now they just have him moving some kind of, I don't really know, but I'm following him. Where are we going? So he just drops it. Ah, but you can change it? That's funny. So he just takes it and leaves, huh? Does he follow me? Doesn't seem to. Which is fine. I mean, that's a lot of resources to take up on really nothing there. Beige flavor. That's funny. That's like a nice little contextual, very aesthetic game here. Very, very aesthetic. Yeah. The aesthetic is super on point. Everything is grungy. Everything is a little kind of worn, even though like some things seem like out of place, like a donut ring, but like because it is like this grainy looking texture, it all kind of fits, which is really, really cool. The dog food around is a little confusing, but I suppose it also kind of fits with like the grunge style. There's definitely something over here that I can probably touch and get hurt. Yep, okay. So, telling me that I've been electrocuted, unauthorized viewing material over your eyes. That's a very cool effect, honestly. It does seem to have a collider on it, though, which is kind of interesting. So you can kind of climb, but, oh, it's like a table. So you can't tell that it's a table from like this, really, but if you get on top of it, you can tell it's a table. So I wonder if there's something really cool in there. So You can pick them up, but there's no... It doesn't look like your gun has any... Oh, that's very cool. It outlines to you how things are going to ricochet ahead of time, so you know. That's very neat. That reload animation's also very, very slick. And that's just a little bit of shameless plug there for the developer or publisher. It's kind of funny. Lots of random little... Wait, get in? Lots of... That's funny. So a little bit of fun. Oop. Oh, the physics are wonky. It seems to just be like impulse based, but impulse based to the point that you can't really recover, which is kind of cool.
Mission selection is over in the drop pod.
Alright, I should probably get on to
Start
doing
clicking some
something.
buttons and
This
pulling some
10
levers
minutes of
whenever
just
you're
me
ready.
goofing around, not talking about the actual game, other than just the aesthetics are awesome. The game feels great. Even the shooting feels really good. Even though it's like a pretty minimalistic shooting, it does feel good. And I do like how he just walks around and chit-chats. Okay. So, I guess first thing first, very cool CRT effect on the monitors there, and that's funny. That's a pretty bog standard game development texture there, at least in Unity. If your textures aren't imported right, you get that a lot. So it's kind of cool. They might actually be using Unity for this. There's a couple ways to check that, but I'm not actually going to check right now. And that just said roach milk, which is a disgusting thought. But alright, so let's pick a mission. Looks like I only have one. We'll go ahead and pick it. There are different difficulties, but I think I'm just going to do risky because that just makes more sense. It outlines your rewards. So this is a very good mission selection screen in my opinion. It's minimal, but it also kind of outlines what exactly you're going to be getting. So this tells you, hey, this is your standard currency. Upgrade doesn't have that, and XP doesn't have that. And you can reasonably assume that upgrade and XP are, upgrade points and XP points, but it would be nice to kind of outline that. But that does confirm earlier from looking at the weapons that there are kind of currency materials that you need to get a hold of. So we're just going to go ahead and select the mission, and then there's a little bit of a pop-up there, which is good, conveys to you that there's a mission waiting.
Real glad you guys are
Ooh,
here.
contextual, like spatial,
Inflection
sorry.
scared the shit out of me a couple times.
That voice acting's so good. But the spatial text is also very cool.
As long as you're in 10 seconds, get your
The fact that I can look around and it will kind of move around to make sure that I can still see it and kind of convey where the person is, while also just kind of, making sure that I can read it if I want to. Oh, they're welding you into that. That is a sweet effect also. Yeah, I'm sure that's just kind of like a pre-programmed little route there that node follows and does that particle effect, but very sweet. Alright, let's get going. Alright.
airdrops ain't cheap.
So you can just die from falling. Good to know. Doesn't seem like you could definitely do your jump or whatever and probably counteract the fall, but I was taking a drink, so it didn't really convey it to me what all I need to be doing, which is kind of a downside there. I'm actually also kind of curious if there's a map. There does not seem to be. So the tutorial is a little bit bare bones. I mean, for somebody that kind of knows what they're doing, it wouldn't be too bad, but because you can hit, space and tab and M and whatnot, but it also seems like I am probably going the wrong way here. And there was no real outline of, hey, you have to go this way. So I tried to go to the left. A little bit more of a concise thing would probably be ideal. It is nice that you can grab onto the force field here with your lasso, but it is a little off-putting that somehow whenever I fell and died, it made it so I am stuck, which is kind of interesting that I ran into this first. So I do just get to go on a little trip right now, I guess, which is kind of interesting, but it is what it is, I suppose. The fact that I can grab onto the force field there with the lasso is nice, though. I will say that. And I am kind of curious why there's not like a barrier, and I'm almost wondering if I have fallen outside of the barrier zone. So let's see if that's true. It is. So I've actually fallen out of the usable map, which is quite interesting because that's something you should probably account for if you're going to design a game, is like the maximum limits that people are able to spawn in and get to. So I've actually effectively locked myself out completely. Now, which is very interesting to do on the first try. So I'm not actually able to get back in there at all. So now one of the things that I want to test is how far this plane goes. And this is totally unintentional. This isn't what I intended to do, but it will be kind of neat to see how they've done it. So yeah, so there's no collision on any of that, so you can just fall. So now we're gonna see if they did implement. They did implement a like kill floor on the bottom. So at least there's that, so you can kind of get back. But it looks like it just respawns you on the nearest piece of like collisionable terrain. So it doesn't actually reset you to like an appropriate spot within the barrier. So that would actually be a good game dev change to make, would be to, can I? Oh yeah, I can. So it's just gonna kill me again. But, hold on, I'm just gonna wait for the, there you go.
These repair drones ain't cheap.
It would be a good idea to implement some kind of system that says, hey, if a player dies and they're outside of, you know, these bounds, spawn them within the bounds, because I physically cannot get back in, which is hilarious, honestly. But that is one of the fun, challenging things of game dev. You never know what'll actually your players will get up to, so you kind of have to anticipate their movements. Now, I mean, a problem like this is actually, you know, relatively difficult. Well, easy / difficult depending on how they have it set up. But it is one of those things that it is very possible that somebody could get into a situation like this and just not be able to get back in, which is wild to see. Like on my first attempt here, this happened. So we're just gonna run this barrier for a minute, and we're just gonna see if there is any break in it. I highly doubt there's going to be. That's usually something most people take pretty seriously when they develop a game, because you don't want the player to get out like I am and have the exact same issue that I'm having. So I am quite interested to see. It does go up pretty dang high. So it looks like I'm probably just gonna have to restart, which is perfectly fine. It just is kind of annoying. I would like to see the developer implement some kind of, hey, you shouldn't be able to get outside these boundaries. If you are outside these boundaries, I'm going to kill you and teleport you inside of the nearest coordinates. Something like that. So it's actually not too bad. You could just check their players transform every now and then. You know, even every like 5 minutes, like a quick one-off check of their coordinates and see if they're outside the maximum bounds. That could be tricky if you have a procedural generation system going on, but it shouldn't be too bad if you kind of have a predefined size.
No more budget for repairs, gang. I'm sorry, but I have to pull you back.
But that one, you know, you can
time.
just abandon missions and stuff like that, so it's not too bad. Still, the aesthetic of this game blows me away. It's absolutely amazing. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and run into this again, and we are just going to see if we can actually get a mission done here without dying, just randomly dying. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, that's cool, it increments every time. Does make me curious that if it gets up to 999, what happens then? Does it expand? Does it just stay at 999? Does it reset? It really just depends on how they have it handled on the back end there. But, okay, let's try to do this properly this time. Let's try not to just die. Didn't really realize the floor was just going to fall out from underneath me, so. Woo! Oh. So it doesn't do that all the time. Very, very weird. Alright, so now we're in the proper tutorial. It does just zoom up. I'm going to be really interested to watch the footage back and see how I ended up in that situation, but very neat. So there is like a slide. There's a little, not very good conveyance right now on the possibilities of things that you're able to do. I mean, if you're just, intuitive and you're just looking around, that's also cool. But some people aren't, kind of a seasoned a gamer, so they kind of have to have their hand held a little bit.
Start the unsealing process.
So that's a pretty
I'll
good
get you inside.
little like not contextual, but like kind of on rails kind of thing there. It's to tell you to go do the lever. It hasn't conveyed to me that you can sprint. It hasn't conveyed to me that you can do pretty much anything other than the space dash.
Team, not to be all dramatic, but I'm seeing some weird looking signatures coming at you.
So it seems to be weak there, I would guess, but can't really tell. That hurts. Alright. Dang, okay. Combat feels really good in this. I'm not really sure what I just busted off at him, but let's see if we can get a little bit of an angle.
Just flip that
There we go.
again, and that thing will pop right over.
Okay, so it looks like this stuff does actually yield some kind of... its little bits are still coming after me, which is a very cool mechanic. So I wonder how they have that constructed on like the game dev side to actually make it capable of doing that. So like these pieces don't seem to come alive on themselves, but they're clearly joined by these little bits. So that's kind of cool. I'm not sure if they just have it set up as objects and they just have those capable of, you know, animating themselves and then just using like regular, you know, maybe kinematic physics or something like that to kind of just animate the node and just so it can.
Well, that's all
That's
right.
funny.
Just get inside and look for a terminal so we can nab that data.
That's a funny little thing right there. Just, you know, the small one instead of the big one. But yeah, I wonder how they have that kind of set up. So I would assume you could just, you know, have it based those little purple things are what actually. Oh, there is ADS as well, which is very cool. Again, not something that was conveyed to me, but you know, somebody who plays really any amount of video games would kind of know pretty quick. There's probably ADS.
Ew, that door's all gunked up. Damn. This place was supposed to be sealed up tight.
Immune.
Is there something you can use to break through?
Okay. So, okay, didn't quite throw it hard enough, but that'll do. Something like that, very cool. It is nice that it popped up a little trigger on you.
I
Again,
like the
some
way you
people will
think.
just figure it out, other people will not. You really have to develop games for somebody who has no idea what they're doing and just give them the option usually is the best thing. Oh. Yep, shouldn't have came back here. That was dumb. Oh, let's see. That would be kind of fun. Oh, they're coming... Never mind. Not coming that way. So I'm not quite sure how they're teleporting in here. But it is kind of interesting. Because there's glass right there, but it seems like it doesn't really care that there's glass right there. So it's interesting that I have a collider here, but I bet you that thing can walk. Yeah, it can go right through, which is pretty interesting. So that's clearly like it trying to attack me, but you can blow that part off, which is kind of neat. But it is going to just keep doing that. So kind of funny that you can cheese it like this. I'm assuming that just has to do with the AI programming there, but he's going to be able to just come right through, isn't he? Or is like part of him not able to because part of him has collision? So it definitely seems like the enemies have like a different collision. Ow. Different collision than we do as a player, which is kind of neat. So that thing just electrocuted me, which is not fun. Oh, okay, so I want that done quickly, preferably. Let's get it. And switch. There we go. So now what attacks does he have? He doesn't have any claws, he doesn't have anything like that. So can he hurt me at all? No. Oh, yes he can. So you can still whack you with that, but it seems like once you expose the core, that's just kind of it. Very cool, you know, very bog standard game design, but very cool enemy to fight there. But that is kind of interesting that they can kind of just come through this and you can't as a player, which is kind of interesting. Definitely something to look at from a game dev perspective, just to make sure that all the collisions, colliders are the same, so to make sure that, you know, things that you can't pass through, enemies can't pass through, etc. Clicking. That's a cool CRT effect right there, as are the lines there. I would love to kind of play that back and see what that said, but
Something. I'm I'm gonna send this over to the Saxon analysts.
Okay.
For now, find some open air where I can send down the drop pod. I don't like keeping you guys down there.
Very, very cool. I would love to see inside the
This
settings.
computer shit can't
So
be
there is
right.
disabled
It
tutorials.
says everything with wires kicked the bucket one day. And I mean everything. Toasters, phones, walkies, transmitters, board monitors, all stopped reporting over one singular hour. From the data, it would make
I love
more
this
sense
voice
if the
acting.
whole rock got
It's so good.
vaporized. But you're on her right now, and it's just overgrown? How in the hell?
I love it. Such good voice acting. Like I was saying, there is a settings option to disable tutorials. So that leads me to believe that this is the most tutorialized version of the game. Which is kind of sad. I would love to see like 3 different settings. Like I'm figuring it out, but I would love to see like 3 different settings, like full tutorial, like where it kind of holds your hand for people who want their hand held. Like really walking you through like this is sprint, this is jump, this is how to lasso, like blah blah blah. And then like a medium one, which is probably like this level, which is like, hey, you probably know what you're doing, but you know, let me walk you through some stuff. And then like a final one where there's just like none, and you just figure it out. Giving players more choice is always a good thing in games, at least most of the time. Sometimes not so much, but you know, I'm not Tynan Sylvester or anything like that. I'm not a game design expert, but I do know my thoughts on games and just things that I would like to see and things that I've noticed over time. So that looks like that's probably going to hurt me, but it doesn't look like I can kill it. So I wonder, is it going to track me or is it just... It's just a thing. Okay. Definitely some kind of enemy coming up, obviously. Let's just hit him with that. And that should get most of them. Woo! Oop, didn't quite hit it. Okay, that thing is way more lethal than the rest of them. Don't really like that. Yeah. Ow. Okay. I want that laser hand, because that thing's what's causing me the most amount of problems right now. Alright, I'm basically out of ammo with that, so switch it up. I'm actually regenerating ammo for the other guns as I do damage, which is kind of cool. I'd love to see that conveyed. That, hey, if you run out of ammo with one gun, switch to your other gun and you will get more ammo the more you use it. That seems like a pretty big gameplay thing to convey, that it's not being conveyed yet.
We got a lively one.
Oh, no.
Get on back.
I do like how it popped up with a warning thing,
Okay,
so
let's get you out of there. Hold your recall button to request the drop pod.
I'm just checking for loot. I do like how it popped up with a warning icon that basically told me, hey, this is something you want to get away from. That's very cool. I also like how it faded out. Like, it disappeared when I was out of the damage area effect, which is kind of nice. Hold forward or request or extract for extraction. Okay, cool. And then press space.
Pod's coming down.
Alright.
Make sure you all get in this
So then
time.
I just have to hold out, I guess. Kind of wish I had something other than a shotgun, but you know, beginner loadouts are beginner loadouts, but something other than a shotgun would be nice for some of this stuff. Because these things are not dying very quick to shotgun blast.
Oh, shit.
Ooh, okay, that thing hurts. Let's get out of its attack range there. Over here probably would be best. Okay, so it does move pretty good. So I am just gonna have to pray to RNGesus that it doesn't work its way over here. It's gonna. Ah! Okay, let's hit it with that, maybe? No, didn't work. So I'm in some kind of shield right now, which is interesting. That keeps sucking me towards it. Dealing damage. Okay, so there, it just conveyed to me that you can switch like that, so that was an early critique on my part, that it looks like it was waiting for you to run out of ammo before it conveyed it to you. So nothing wrong with that design choice there. It's just kind of waiting for you to need it to be conveyed. I don't see anything wrong with that. That's also a very valid choice. I am having a little bit of a hard time critiquing any game design when I am so engrossed in this fight. It just feels very, very good. All of it, really. Just every bit. Would love to get him with that. Yeah, give him a lot of AoE like that. That one's done. I have 4 seconds till the drop pod's here, so I'm wondering if it's just gonna pull me out immediately, or nah, it's just saying get in. Alright, so can't really keep messing around too much with these guys. But it does seem like I could have killed it if I was better at my job.
Well, am I glad
Once you're in.
Get on back here. We'll gear you up for another. I think we got our work cut out.
Once you're in, it instantly takes off, which is actually quite nice. But I have a feeling I could just dive out this door. Yep. So also, a little bit of a bad choice there, just because, you know, people are gonna be dumb. People are gonna do things that you don't want them to do. So a lot of the times you want to prevent people from being able to do stuff like that, just, you know, from a gameplay perspective, especially if you're going to penalize them for dying. I don't think this game does, but something to think about, like, you know, at the very end there, somebody could just be celebrating or whatever, jump out the door, die, be dead, and, you know, everybody loses a whole bunch of points for that. So not something that's ideal to see, but something interesting nonetheless. So it is very nice that it outlines here, hey, you've unlocked these things, these are resources. Here's kind of how much XP you actually got, which is kind of neat. I'd love to see that explained to me a little bit further, what exactly yielded that XP, but that's also a, you know, a game design decision. Sometimes you don't want to reveal the formula, because then, you know, sometimes people min-max stuff or, you know, whatever. I'm a big proponent of, like, giving players, like, all of the information possible, but I totally understand why they might not have chosen to done that here. So, alright, hit OK then. So I do get to unlock a different weapon, which is kind of interesting. I kind of thought it would just be gated behind level, not a choice and level. So I like the idea of swarm pellets. That seems kind of cool. That just seems like a cooler design than a DMR. And now it's walking me through that I can switch my weapons here. And then, oh, very, very cool. So, okay, so it goes out, and it looks like if it doesn't find anything in time, it kind of just goes straight down. Oh, there's a distance. Okay, so that's very cool. I wonder if that's conveyed to you. Launches a hovering swarm of dive and track to enemies when released. Okay, so very cool. So they just hover until you release. Very neat. It's also trying to tell me here that there's a little bit of
Who took my Saxitos? You guys
oh god, Saxitos, that's funny.
You'll never know their taste.
Select the upgrade tree. I do love how they have this guy kind of pop up, say, hey, there is a tutorial, please look at me. And let's see how the tutorial is. That's very slick. That's a very nice little transition. And so it says pick whatever you want to upgrade, which is kind of neat. Slide roll, quick knot, deadeye. I do love that they outline the entire tree for you. The camera following the mouse is definitely not a bad design, but it is something that makes it a little bit funky. But not too bad, honestly. So you can aim while sliding, slide when to roll versus speed, you know, so you're sliding increase or low speed. So a lot of these aren't really anything that kind of change the way you play, other than maybe this tree. This one seems to be a little bit more on like the functionality side. These seem a little bit more, no, they all kind of have extra functionality, so very cool to see that on each side. So imagine each one kind of goes through like a different play style. They all kind of have these orange looking ultimate abilities, kind of following the very bog standard, you know, green common, blue rare, purple, you know, epics, and, you know, orange legendary kind of shtick that a lot of games follow. So nothing wrong with that. Very good way to convey the tier of ability that you're going to unlock. So feeling exchange, reload speed, don't really want to deal with any of that. I like the idea of being able to aim while I slide and getting plus 3% health. That just seems like a plus. So it looks like I have to go to the employee upgrades menu, which is, I guess, under gear. So maybe a little bit better of a way to convey that, like say upgrades can actually, you know, upgrades can be unlocked from the upgrade tree and be equipped in the employee upgrade menu, located in the gear tab or something like that, or maybe highlight the gear tab. But Very cool. Also would love a little bit of tutorial. I mean, it's pretty, pretty basic on that you could do this just by, grabbing it and scrapping it or whatever, but it would be nice to like kind of have them outline, hey, here's something you can do with it, as opposed to just, hey, here's tile here and then a grid over here, and you figure out the rest. I don't really love that. That is kind of nice that you can flip that off to kind of switch it to a grid or a table view. That's nice. Some people prefer that. Search is always nice, especially if you're gonna have 62 upgrades. That's also very cool. It looks like there's temporary storage here, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to sift through the entire grid again. That's a good game design choice right there, as are loadouts. Loadouts are also good. But the temporary storage is actually really slick. It's a very small thing, but it's a very big quality of life thing. So if you're just over here messing around with all this, you can just drop them in a temp storage. That stops you from having to like keep relocating them again and again. Very, very slick. I also like how you can view the skill tree from here, so you can plan out your stuff ahead of time. There doesn't appear to be a way to get back from here, which is not super ideal. I would recommend having some kind of back button. I mean, 2 clicks to get back to where you were, not a big deal, but kind of something to think about, because the UI in this is not very crowded at all, and so maybe like a return or like a back or something like that might be quicker than just having people click through a couple of things. The less you can have your players click, kind of the better, but you also don't want to have your UI so cluttered. So really it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other kind of decision for them there, but it is something to think about. Overall, that is kind of cool. So I'm just hitting escape now, and it just tabbed me back through a bunch of menus. Not quite sure what they're using to remember that, but kind of a cool system. Overall, yeah, no, I think this is a really awesome game. I think this is a great first video for my little foray back to just, doing something that I enjoy doing, talking about video games, playing video games, just kind of figuring out how they might have designed it, everything like that, kind of all the workings. I'm always happy to, kind of dive in deeper and stuff, but just kind of playing and chatting. It's kind of something I love to do. So hopefully you guys will keep joining me as I post these. It's going to be very infrequent. I'm just going to do them as I have the time and do them as I feel like doing. So nothing too major. Again, not looking to make money off of it or anything like that. Just kind of chat, kind of share my experiences and share a little bit of game dev knowledge. Not that I'm an expert, but hey, the more you know, always the better. Alright, see you guys later.